And I realized that moment, it just blew the whole global economy into this bubble. And right now, I think the end is near. So I ran out yesterday, picked up this gold coin. They come in these sleeves like this. And the reason was that gold pushed $2,000. And I went, I think it's beginning. So like Jay said it best, for the last 15 years, it's been a bear market. Nobody really wants gold or silver. They're happy with U.S. treasuries and paper dollars and paper stocks. But now when you look at that hot air balloon hanging over there, after 2008, they kept blowing the balloon bigger and bigger and bigger. And now that little gondola hanging below is the economy. And it's hanging on this massive hot air balloon of fake money. So yesterday I went, oh my God, this is what I've been waiting for all these years. So I ran out and bought some. But I want to give a plug to this book here. This is called Who Stole My Pension? With myself, Ted Siddell, and myself wrote this book. And what happened in 2008, which caused the hot air balloon to be blown up. Ben Bernanke was our Fed chairman, Federal Reserve Bank chairman. They printed, when the economy collapsed in 2008, they called the Lehman Brothers moment. And Lehman Brothers went down. My prediction is we're going to call it the pension moment, because pensions all over the world are empty. And every time Jay Powell, our head of the Federal Reserve Bank, pumps more money out there, the more dangerous it gets for people. And when they raise interest rates, the stock market comes down. I'm saying this to all the baby boomers, the old guys my age. If you're born between 1964 and 1950 something, that your pensions are gone. Your 401k is toast. And people are still saving dollars. And I think what's going to happen, Jay, is when people find out their pensions are gone, this is all over the world. I think the Federal Reserve banks, the Bank of Canada, the Bank of England, they're going to have to start printing even more money to make sure the old guys, baby boomers, have some kind of money to retire. So that's why when I saw gold top 2,000, I said, I better get off my butt, because the first one I ever bought was $50. So what I paid $50 for back in 1972 is now worth $2,000. What does that projecting forward another 10 years mean? So all the old guys and boomers are scrambling around. Our Social Security is bankrupt. I think the majority of baby boomers, my U.S. baby boomers, are counting on Social Security, and it's bankrupt. So as a Canadian looking down on the 48 or 50 states here, what do you see going on in the U.S. economy? Because you see it from the same point of view I do, which is precious metal side. But so the U.S. dollar and the U.S. stock market right now?
No, God, no, absolutely not. And if I were to make any projections about how the remainder of this decade will play out, it's how the first few years have played out. It's been this increased unpredictable chaos and volatile scenarios. And I think that party's honestly just getting started. And I'm not a doom and gloom guy. Like, I'm long human ingenuity. I think that we're a very impressive species and we'll always find solutions, but there's going to be some very challenging years ahead. Your pension scenario is really interesting to me because I'm very curious how that's going to play out. It's like the ultimate example of how counterparty risk can go very, very poorly. When you put the trust of your retirement in somebody else's hands, what happens if they can't deliver on that? And yeah, Canada's in the same scenario. We'll print to try to solve that problem, right? To give our civilians something to retire on. But when you're dependent on somebody else to finance the balance of your life, that's a very, very uncertain situation. And right now, I'm sure the numbers are the same in Canada. I'm actually more familiar with the United States, but it's like 1/3 of people have zero savings they can retire on. Another third have extraordinarily limited that would require them to reduce the standard of their living in retirement. That's a lot of people. And that's going to be a lot of angry people because they were sold a story that now can't be delivered, right? And so, you look at all the expressions of civil unrest that have occurred over the last 3 years, it's just getting a bit more heated. And this is a really big one. This is a really significant one. I don't know how it's solved. It's terrifying to me. I'm glad that you brought it up. I feel really fortunate that I can sort of see this coming right now and feel really fortunate that I guess at a young age was introduced to concepts like precious metals and personal sovereignty and a bit more of a libertarian mindset, because I think that is spreading right now. And it's really positive that it's spreading because people need to take control. It's very, very important.
So just to give an idea is that, again, I bought my first coin in 1972. I was a pilot in Vietnam, and I had to fly behind enemy lines. The reason to fly behind enemy lines was at one time this gold mine was in U.S. hands.
Right.
The North Vietnamese army rolled south so fast that the mine was now in enemy hands, and Nixon had just taken the dollar off the gold standard August 15, 1971, and I was pussyfooting around and said, I have time, I'll go buy some gold from this mine. And the next thing you know, the North Vietnamese army rolled south, and this mine is now in enemy territory. So I thought if I flew behind enemy lines, I might get a discount from the gold dealer. And what she was a little tiny Vietnamese woman with red teeth. And I go walking up to her, and she wanted $50 for a piece of gold. And I said, 50. You're behind enemy lines. I'll give you 40. And she goes, spot. I said, what does spot mean? Do I have a spot on my shirt or something? Spot. And all of a sudden, this little Vietnamese woman educated me, and my lights went on. Gold and silver are God's money. They're put here on planet Earth. They're not manufactured out of trees called paper. And so this woman was yelling spot at me. And I realized at that moment why Nixon taking the dollar off the gold standard in 1971 was so important. It just blew the whole global economy into this bubble, which is that hot air balloon, little gondola beneath it. And right now, I think the end is near. So that's why when we come back, we're going to be talking more about why I'm so excited. I love going to the VRIC, the Vancouver Resource Investor Conference, because I go there to learn. You got thousands of people. You've sold more tickets this year than ever before. And the interest in precious metals is increasing because people can see that gondola is losing air right now. And my generation, we're the first generation, what we call a 401k. In Canada, it's called an RRSP. But basically, exactly as Jay says, you're putting your future retirement in the hands of somebody else. And our central banks are printing that. That's what just happened in England, right? They had to reverse and start printing again because their pensions were going broke. So this whole thing goes back to my generation, this who stole my pension. Is that my generation, boomer generation, is the first one that's dependent upon the stock market for their retirement. Up to then, if I worked for Ford Motor Company was in charge of my retirement. But what happened in 1974, corporate America and corporations all over the world, so we don't want to handle the retirement of old guys, the boomers. So we're going to put it in the hands of the boomer themselves. The trouble was my generation has no financial education, neither does yours really either. And they started saving money, the government prints it, they save stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. Every time they raise interest rates, the stock market crashes. So that's why when we come back, I'd like to have you discuss why I'm so excited about going to VRIC. What will you learn? Who will be there? If you're going to listen to me, you listen to me on Zoom. I don't want to listen to myself any longer. So I want to come and hear the other speakers and what they have to say, and hopefully scare the crap out of you because you'll take action. If you knew how close we are, instead of a Lehman Brothers moment, we're going to have a pension moment, which came out it started in 1974. All these pension stuff started to happen. Then you might want to attend the VRIC and get educated and talk to people who are really in the industry.